Okay. Good day, greetings. Now, the question we always have is how do we get the nutrient that we are eating? We are eating food, we are breathing in oxygen, we are taking out carbon dioxide. But how does our cells get the nutrients, get also the oxygen? Now, it's all through the blood. So blood plays important role in transporting your nutrients and transporting the hormones to the targeted organs, in transporting also the gas that we need, like oxygen, and also don't need carbon dioxide. It has to be taken out. Okay, so now we're just going to look into circulatory system and also the lymphatic system. Now, let's look at circulatory system in animals. So it's responsible, like I said, for nutrients, delivery of nutrients, gaseous exchange, transport of white blood cells, antibodies, and also removal of waste. Now, the circulatory system is subdivided into two, cardiovascular system and also what you call the lymphatic system. Now, the cardiovascular system consists of what you call the heart, which is our cardio, which is the pumping organ. It will be pumping blood. Then we have got the blood vessels, which we refer to the vesicular. Those are the tubes in which blood flows. Then we've got the blood itself is the fluid that acts as a transport medium in what you call in the blood vessels. So we are saying the nutrients are actually dissolved in the blood, are actually part of the blood there, and also the oxygen also is also in the blood. Now, let's check the heart external structure, sorry. Now, we see that walls of the heart consist of the cardiovascular muscles, which contracts and relax. So the heart always have to contract and relax, so as to sufficiently effectively pump the blood, and also pump the blood to the system, and also pump it to the lungs to get the oxygen. We're going to talk about that. But no, it's also covered probably by the ribs, the sternum, and also by the membrane, which is the pericardium. Now, the heart is surrounded by watery fluid, which prevents friction with surrounding organs. So the heart itself is actually in a fluid, in a fluid. Now, the coronary blood vessels transport blood to and from the cardiac muscles. So the heart itself, the tissues, the cells of the heart needs also to receive the oxygen, needs also to receive the nutrients. So they are living cells here. So we are saying the coronary blood vessels are the ones that are responsible to actually pump the blood to the heart, muscles. Now, let's check here heart structure. External structure. We'll be talking about arteries, and we need to know that all arteries take blood away from the heart. They take blood away from the heart. That's the job of the arteries. And all arteries except this pulmonary artery, they do transport oxygenated blood. They do transport blood with the oxygen, blood which is rich in oxygen. That blood is actually coming from the lungs. Just coming after the lungs, it actually having more of the oxygen. Now, the veins here, what will transport blood to the heart. That's the job of the veins. They always transport the blood to the heart. But what another thing about the veins, they do transport deoxygenated blood, except one which we call the pulmonary vein. So here we've got the pulmonary veins that transport oxygenated blood. Then we have got pulmonary artery that transport deoxygenated blood, because it has to leave the arteries. Have to take away they have to take blood away from the heart. That's why we are saying it's actually performing the function of also taking away deoxygenated blood. Now, this is our heart here. We have got the atrium, right atrium. We have got the right ventricle underneath that. We also have the heart muscles, and we also have the septum. Then we have got left ventricle, and also left atrium. So you see the atrium are on top, then the ventricles are at the bottom. But between those two, we're gonna talk also of the valves that actually separating the atrium and the ventricle. We're gonna talk about that. Now let's check of internal structure. Now we've got the left and right half of the cell is separated by the septum, which is here, and also we have got the left side. contains oxygenated blood. Left side, this is our left side, it contains oxygenated blood. What do we mean by this? We are saying the blood that is just coming from, when it's received from the lungs, it's containing more of the oxygen. That's what we call oxygenated blood. Now when it reaches here, it gets the heart through what we call pulmonary veins. Now, when it gets into the pulmonary, what we call into the left atrium, it moves from the left atrium to the what we call ventricle, left ventricle, crossing what we call, passing what we call bicuspid valves. Bicuspid. So we've got bicuspid valves on the left, then we've got tricuspid valves on the right. That separates your right atrium and your right ventricle. Now, so here we also see that the blood, when the blood leaves the what you call the what you call the left the ventricle, when it is received on the heart, it comes from all parts of the body, which is it's going to be deoxygenated. Now it comes through what call the vena cava. We call what call the vena cava. It comes through what call the vena cava, and this one here from the, we've got superior vena cava from the top with the head and the arms, and also we've got the inferior vena cava which comes from the bottom, legs and everything. Now we see that the blood, when the blood reaches the left atrium, it actually contracts and push the blood into the sorry, this is the right atrium, the right ventricle, via what call crossing what is the passing the what call the tricuspid valves. Now when the blood, when the right ventricle contracts, these tricuspid valves are forced to close. They are forced to close here so that they can allow a blood to go what call through one way, isn't it? One way, which is via the what call pulmonary what called artery. Now, via the pulmonary artery is distributed to all parts of the body now. But we also have the valve here. We call them the semilunar valve. So we've got semilunar pulmonary valve and also semilunar aortic valve. These are the valves that are what call on the outlet vessels, the one that are taking the blood away out from what call out from the heart. That's what we have there. Now, let's check again. We have got the heart, internal structure again here. Now I want to know how now your lungs and how your oxygen, your gases are exchanged. What process is it? They are exchanged via the process of what called diffusion. So via the process of what? Diffusion. So we are saying through diffusion, your gases are actually exchanged in the lungs, and also what you call nutrients. Now, then we go down here. Let's see what we have. Cardiac valves. We spoke about this. The tricuspid valves. Where do you find the tricuspid valves? On the right atrium, between right atrium and right ventricle. Then we have got the bicuspid valve. Where do you find them? On the left what called side of the heart, which separates your left atrium and left ventricle. Then we've got semilunar valves. Where are they? They are at the base of the pulmonary artery, and also what called pulmonary artery, and also what called aortic, and also the aorta. Now, so the biggest what called vessel here is what called the aorta, which pumps actually pumps oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. So you find that the aorta here, the aorta actually has to pump blood with more pressure to all parts of the body. Now, so here is the direction of the blood. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, it's all vena cava. Now it goes to right atrium via the tricuspid to right ventricle. From there it goes to pulmonary valve. Then the pulmonary valve, the semilunar valve that we talk about, then via the pulmonary artery to all parts of the body. Now, sorry man, to the lungs. Why are you going to the lungs? This is the blood that is coming from the what? From all parts of the body. It's now containing more of carbon dioxide. We need to empty that carbon dioxide in the lungs. Now, on the lungs here, the blood is actually emptying the through diffusion. It's losing carbon dioxide and gaining oxygen. Then it moves from there. It comes when it have got oxygen now, it's oxygenated. Now it comes via the left atrium, from left atrium, left ventricle, then from left ventricle through the what called aorta, now to all parts of the body, to the rest of the body. That's how the circulation what called goes. So you must understand the structure of the heart and also the valves. So you must always remember that. But now we know that our system is referred to as a double circulatory system. What does this mean? It means that we've got the pulmonary circulatory system and we've got systematic what called circulatory system. Now, what is a pulmonary circulatory system? We are saying your blood has to leave the heart to get the oxygen. It has to leave the heart to get the oxygen. Where is it getting the oxygen? On the lungs. So we are saying this actually shows us the pathway of the blood from where? From the pulmonary. What is it? We have got here, we have got on the pulmonary circuit, it goes of the pulmonary veins, pulmonary artery, and what called pulmonary veins is actually bringing the deoxygenated blood to what called to the what is it? Sorry, oxygenated blood to the heart, and pulmonary artery is actually takes out what call deoxygenated blood to the to the lungs. Then right atrium is pumping the blood to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it pumps the blood away from the away from the from the it's pumped away from the heart through what called pulmonary artery. This one is deoxygenated blood. It goes there. It to the lungs, collect oxygen. Now it's becoming red now, meaning to say it's containing the oxygen. Now when it comes here, it's rich in oxygen. It comes there to the heart so that it can be pumped with the pressure to all parts of the body. Now this is our systematic circulatory system. Once the oxygenated blood reaches the heart, we are now talking about what called systematic circulatory system, where our blood has to be pumped to all parts of the body. Now, we must know that the site of exchange, yes, we are talking of the aorta, but it now have to subdivide into what called small arteries and subdivide again, further subdivide again to what called small, microscopically small capillaries. We can only view this using what called a microscope. Now we are saying this is on the tissues, on the cells, or what called of our body. Now that's where the exchange of nutrients, the exchange of carbon dioxide, that's where it occurs. It occurs on the capillary. Now, we move on to the circulatory system. On the circulatory system, we can see what we have here. We have we must remember the main vessels, main blood vessels. So we can see here the blood from from when it's deoxygenated blood, what happens to the blood? We're saying it comes through what called subclavian vein from the head. This one is deoxygenated, doesn't have oxygen, much of oxygen, with more of carbon dioxide. It comes to the right atrium. So we're saying this is your jugular vein. Or then we have got inferior vena cava coming. So this is superior vena cava that's actually made up of this jugular vein, or what called subclavian vein. Then what we see there is that we also have the hepatic vein from the liver. Veins, remember, they transport deoxygenated blood. Then we have got the hepatic portal vein. You can see that it's actually taking the blood from the digestive tract there. Then we've got the renal vein. We can see that the renal vein, what we have on the renal vein here? Renal vein is coming from the kidney. So when we talk of renal vein or renal artery, these are from the kidney. Then we've got the iliac vein and iliac artery. It comes from where? It comes from the legs, and also the legs down there. That's where it's coming from. Now, so we must always remember these veins: iliac vein from the legs, renal vein from the kidney. We have the hepatic portal vein, hepatic vein. In fact, hepatic vein is actually on your liver and digestive tract. Now, mesenteric arteries, they're actually transporting oxygenated blood to the digestive tract. Then we see that we've got the pulmonary vein. We spoke about this, the aorta, we spoke about it. Then we've got carotid artery. So we've got jugular vein transporting the oxygenated blood to the from the head and arms, and we've got the carotid artery transporting oxygenated blood to the head and also the arms. So we can also call this subclavian artery. Here we can also commonly call it subclavian vein. Okay, so this is the same thing that you must always remember. So these are the things that you must remember, main verses that you must remember. Now let's move on to what we call cardiac cycle. I think you find that your heart is not always what called pumping, contracting only. No. It also has to relax, allowing the blood inside. So when it relaxes the muscles, it allows the blood inside. Then when it contracts, it's pushing the blood away from what called out from the what called from the heart. So when it's relaxing, it's actually consume more blood in, then takes it out. So we have got two systems. You have relaxation of your cardiac muscles, which are your heart muscles, and also contraction of your heart muscles. So what we call systole is contraction, then diastole is actually what called relaxation. So we've got atrial systole, where your atrial they contract simultaneously. So we find that the right atrium and left atrium, they do contract what called simultaneously at the same time. So that they can push the blood into the ventricles at the same time, and the ventricles also contract what simultaneously, pushing on the right ventricle, pushing the blood via the pulmonary artery, the left ventricle pushing the blood via the aorta. So we see that the aorta is receiving the oxygenated blood, and the pulmonary artery is receiving the what called deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Now, then we've got general diastole. Now your heart also relax. So you can see that it's also, you must also just remember the ventricle, the systole, meaning of the systole and the diastole, and also what actually consists of the systole. It's atrial and the ventricular systole. Then general relaxation of the heart. Now your ventricles and arteries actually relax. Now here with low blood pressure, close to closes the semilunar valves, because now when the blood leaves the pulmonary artery and the aorta, via the aorta, when the blood leaves the heart, it mustn't come back. So what stops it is what you call the semilunar valves. Now when these two, when the atrium and the ventricle relax, they are allowing again the blood in. So we've got the oxygenated blood flows from the two vena cava into the right atrium because it relaxed. Now we also oxygenated blood flows in the pulmonary from the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. Also, it's because it's relaxed. The atrium, left atrium, is relaxed. Then let's move on. Blood vessels. We have three types of blood vessels that we have here. We have got the arteries. Now we are saying the arteries, they're transporting oxygenated blood away from the, it's going to blood away from the heart. And also what since we know that it's transport blood to all parts of the body, it means that we need oxygen in our body. So when it needs oxygen, it means that the oxygen needs to be delivered as soon as possible to all parts of the body. So it must be pumped with a lot of pressure. So that's why we see that your arteries are designed in a way that they can pump effectively the blood to all parts of the body. How are they adapted to that? They are adapted to that through what we call the thick muscular layer, then also the elastic fiber. Then also we see that the lumen, the opening here is not that big. It's small lumen compared to the lumen, the opening where the blood flows of the veins. So we find that here it needs to be pumped under pressure, and when it's pumped under pressure, it makes sure that all the oxygen, nutrients reaches all parts of the all the cells, all parts of the body. Now we've got the capillaries, where we're saying these are just small arteries that actually further branch, so that we are doing this to increase surface area for absorption of your nutrients and absorption of your gases, and also taken also of exchange of your also waste products to the heart. Now we've got a small lumen to the to slow blood flowing, ensuring effective exchange of gases as well. That's what we have, the capillaries here. Then here we have got the veins. Veins, they are now taking away that blood. Once it reaches the exchange occurs. Now what we have in the veins now is that your veins now are, the blood, it doesn't have energy now. We don't no longer have, it's no longer pumped under pressure now. It's taken back to the to the heart. When it's taken back to the heart, now it goes via the veins. In your veins, because of the low pressure, we see that it's transporting a lot of blood there, and because of the low pressure, the lumen is open, and also we find that it have the valves. Now, why are these valves along the veins? It's because to prevent backflow of of the blood, so it ensure one directional flow. Now, let's move on. Mechanism controlling what you call cardiac cycle and heart rate. So we must understand something. If we are to go back to what you call nervous system, we all know that what you do is when it's cold, you say, no, I'm feeling cold now. Then your brain tells you to pick jersey or something warm. But we have what you call voluntary, those are voluntary actions. But we have the involuntary actions like heartbeat. Now, heartbeat is not controlled by the what called the nervous system, the what called the nervous system the common nervous system. Like it means that the heart on its own, it has to pump. You don't have to think to pump the blood. It does that involuntarily without the involvement of the brain. That's why your brain doesn't know that your heart is pumping now. I'm stopping now. What? No, it doesn't do that. Your brain just continues what call to gather information that it can use. But now in this case, the heart completely operates on its own. Now, so it has to have enough what you call a network. Now we have got two nodes here. We have got two nodes, that namely the sinoatrial node and what you call atrioventricular node. So electrical impulse generated in the sinoatrial node cause the right and left atria to contract, initiating the cardiac cycle. So it means that this one initiates what you call atrial systole. Atrial systole. It's generated there. That's why our impulse to say contract, Baba, we need to what call to pump more blood. Now, then electrical signals reaches the atrial ventricular, the AV node, where the signal pauses and before spreading through conductive tissues called bundle of His and all of pingle, pinkish fibers. Now, in this case, now we are saying these are now spreading to what called, it's spreading that signal toward the ventricle so that they can also contract again, isn't it? Now, sinoatrial, which is your SA node, is the pacemaker of the heart, since electrical signals are normally generated there without any stimulation from the nervous system. There is no stimulus from the nervous system, external stimulus to say pump the blood. No, there is nothing like that, but it has to actually generate on it, to pump the blood on its own. Now, automatic nervous system controls the heartbeat by conducting impulse via two types of nerve: the sympathetic, which accelerates heartbeat, then the parasympathetic, which slows the heartbeat. Like when you see something, when you are frightened or you're running, you find that your heartbeat actually increases to pump more blood to take out the carbon dioxide on the cells and give them enough oxygen. Now, so that you don't you don't have that like something like fatigue. Now, we've got hormones, adrenaline and thyroxine, which are also transported in the blood to accelerate the heartbeat. So the adrenaline, this one we can also, they say, the flight hormone. Now let's talk of lymphatic system. The lymphatic system here, it consists of what called the what is it? We must know something here. The lymph, we have got the cells, tissue cells here. So we're saying once we have got our blood plasma here, blood plasma is that fluid in the blood, then this is something, the tissue fluid, which now we are saying the blood fluid, it leaves the tissue, it leaves the blood vessels into the into the tissues. Now, when it's on the tissue, that's where the exchange of nutrients, oxygen and everything. Then from there now, we are saying the lymphatic system plays a role now in retaining. So we have got some of the fluid that is left on the on the tissue fluid there, in returning them into the veins, into the blood, so that into the subclavian vein, so that it can be taken back to to the lungs for for oxygenation and everything. So what we have here is that we have tissues fluid with oxygen and nutrients forced out of the capillaries, and now we are saying the tissue fluid with the waste products enter the capillary, but some of it there is not actually doesn't enter the capillary, doesn't come back to the capillary so that it can be taken by the vein there. It doesn't do that. Some of it is left here. So what's left, the remains here, are taken now, taken by what called the lymphatic vessels, are taken. So it's actually cleaning up. It's actually cleaning up what call our cells, our tissues. Now, so we have got the lymphatic lymph capillary, or tissue fluid with waste products and lymph capillaries. Now, with the lymph capillaries, we have got lymph nodes and also large lymphatic vessels with what? With the valves. It takes again what was supposed to be taken into the capillary here, it takes it into the veins. Now, so lymphatic system, we have got thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. These are two lymphatic vessels. So we have got here, we have got what called thoracic duct, which is coming from what? Which is coming from what call, we can see then the lymphatic vessel. There are two lymphatic vessel on the what call thoracic what is it duct. Now this thoracic duct join the blood system by opening into the left subclavian vein. So we've got left subclavian vein, and we have got right lymphatic duct joins by joining also on the right subclavian vein. So these are the veins that are taking in the blood into the heart that can be pumped what called to the lungs. So the lymph nodes produce what we call lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are your white blood cells and also produce antibodies which provide immune to the body. So we must know the functions of the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system collect and transport fluids from the intercellular space in all tissues of the body back to the veins in the what you call in the blood. So it actually helps to clean what you call the tissues there. So the lymph plays an important role in returning plasma proteins to the bloodstream. Some of the bloodstream are now between the tissues. Now, digested fats are absorbed and then transported from the villi in the small intestine to the bloodstream via the lymph vessels. Lymphocytes are manufactured in the lymph nodes, and lymphocytes, we know the white blood vessels, they actually defend our body against what called against a foreign antigens. Now we have got antibodies manufactured in the lymph nodes as well, for protection of our body. Now we have got lymph nodes filter out microorganisms such as bacteria and foreign substances such as toxins. Lymph transports large molecules, compounds such as enzyme and hormones from their manufactured sites to the bloodstream. So this is actually, you find that the lymphatic system plays a very important role in the in our circulatory system. Now, let's move on to the cardiovascular disease. We have got high blood pressure. Now we know that we were talking about contraction and we're talking about what called relaxation. So when it's contracting, the heart is contracting, that's where we find that we have got what called the systolic, which reads 120, and the what called diastolic, which reads 80. So we always have two reading on the blood pressure. But when it's above 120 to 80 is actually high pressure. When it's above 120, below 128, it's actually hypotension, which is low blood pressure. Now, let's move on to stroke. Stroke is when now there is clot and also blood arteries and blood vessels interrupt with blood to the brain. Now, we are now saying the glucose and oxygen is no longer reaching the brain. So in this case here, it can result in impairment of speech. You can't talk, and also sometimes you can't move, and also memory loss. So sometimes this, if it is severe, it can actually result in death. Now, heart attack, this is when now your cardiac coronary arteries, remember coronary arteries, we are now saying they are not supplying oxygenated blood to the cardiac muscles. Now we are saying the heart itself is not receiving the oxygenated blood. It is the one that is working to make sure that all parts receives oxygenated blood, but now it is the one that is not receiving the oxygen now. So how will it function now? It means that now it actually have to fail. That's what we call heart attack, heart fail. Now arteries get blocked by build up of lipids and cholesterol forming plaque, which you call atherosclerosis. Now we are saying when you are eating, we are saying you must eat healthy, because lipids and cholesterol actually block what is it, the what called the arteries. It block the arteries and now forming this plaque. When this plaque burst, your blood will clot again around those those burst, and now forming what called coronary thrombosis on the artery. So you must eat health. Now, treatment of cardiovascular diseases, we have got stents, and these are small wire mesh tube inserted into the blocked or narrowed artery to keep it open, and also the pacemaker, which is small electrical device that get implanted into the chest or abdomen of patients in order to help control arrhythmias, which is abnormal heart rhythm. Now, we have got also valve replacement surgery, the replacement of one or more of the heart valves with artificial valves. Then we've got coronary bypass surgery, where your your veins are actually bypassed. So we have got your arteries are bypassed. Sorry. Now we're saying the surgeon removes a section of the vein from the patient's leg, and then carefully graft the removed vein attaches onto the aorta to bypass the blocked part of the artery. So we're bypassing the artery here that is blocked. Now, heart transplant as well is a surgical removal of a patient's diseased heart and replace in a what called, so if a donor that is donating the heart and the one that is also receiving the heart. Now, so for all these, for all classes like this, we must contact us on our number there, and also you can email us for more information. We do offer online classes and also face-to-face, and also matriculate, right? So for all ages. So we're saying for June exams and also November classes, and we have extra classes from grade 1 to grade 12. So this is Mr. Sole. Until next time, guys, thank you so much.